Hello there, my friend. Welcome back. I'm glad that we are together once again. I've made some changes to my home computer. I'm trying to make sure that I don't repeat the same mistake that we had with Elizabeth last week. But that also made a bunch of problems. So we're going to do our best today. Welcome back. Haven't seen you in a couple days. I'm glad you're here. My name's Gavin. This is my channel, and on my channel, we like to do deep dives. We like to get right into the nitty-gritty of cases. We want to cut past all the speculation, all the fluff, all the sensationalism, and get right into the nitty-gritty. We have been focused on the channel quite a bit over the last year on the Madeleine Soto case. And that is a case, the reason that we're so focused on it is just so sad and so tragic. And there are so many things that can be learned for the loved ones in our own lives. The case that we're going to talk about tonight is equally as tragic. And while sometimes I get maybe a little too happy, a little too jocular here on the channel, I want you to know that it's because I don't take myself seriously. I take the cases seriously, take our victims very seriously. But tonight I want to try to remain as somber as possible, okay? Because, man, this one is another young teenage girl. Now, I don't know the troubles that she had in her life specifically, but she was troubled. And gosh, I just wish that there was a way to go back in time and try to fix this before what happened to her happened, because it's just beyond the pale. And so far we don't know who the perpetrators are. I am talking about 14-year-old Emily Pike. Now, Emily is a member of the Apache tribe down in Arizona. She is a Native American, and I had to do a little bit of research on this. I've been aware that violence against Native women and girls is high in comparison to the rest of the population. But this is maybe a poster child example of that. I did a little research. The most recent race-specific age-adjusted homicide rates in the United States are 33.6 per 100,000 for African American persons. They're the highest. They have the highest. That group has the highest homicide rate in the United States, followed by 12.9 per 100,000 for American Indian and Alaskan Native persons. And it does seem, and then it goes down from there. So there's a movement for us to recognize what's happening in this community in with the indigenous peoples of North America. It's made me kind of come to grips with what are the cases that speak to me. This is a case that our intrepid lead moderator Autumn brought to me a few weeks ago, maybe even a month ago, saying, Gavin, you got to look at this case. But I was so focused on Madeleine and on Judge Mullins that I didn't do it. And I think that I would have done it had I looked at her and she spoke to me in the same paternalistic way that I feel towards a lot of the victims that we cover here. Maddie is one of them. Ellen Greenberg is one of them. Certainly Amanda Winkowski. Certainly Shelby Thornburg. I feel this paternal, instinct toward trying to protect them, or at least trying to find justice for them. And I didn't feel it with Emily, and I feel bad about that, because this is a tragic story that we need to know about in order for us to be able to help the people in our lives, not necessarily the ones that are just in our lives, members of our family or members of our close circle, but members of our communities that might be in groups that are unfairly targeted for violence. And certainly Emily is in one of those groups. So hopefully we're going to spend a lot of time on Emily's case over the next, well, until they find her killer. The challenge, of course, is that we don't have very much information on this case. Maybe that really is, maybe I'm being a little hard on myself, and the reality is that there just isn't a lot to go on Emily's case. But I have gathered as much as I can to at least give us an introduction to this case so that we are prepared to really dive in. And that might be another thing. I sometimes feel I feel like I have imposter syndrome a lot of the times, and if I'm not right there at the beginning of the case, it's really hard to jump in. And with Madeline, I was right there at the beginning. With Gabby Petito, I was right at the beginning. And this one, I just wasn't. So it's kind of scary to jump in, knowing that there are so many other people out there that know more about this case, that could share more about this case. And I don't have a guest. Like usually if I need to jump into a case, I will get a guest that can kind of bring us in, right? But anyway, we're going to jump in. You may know more about this case than I do. It's likely. So I'm going to lean heavily on your comments today as we go through the stuff that I've prepared to show you guys. Okay? Now, if you are an expert on the covering of the murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls movement, please go over to my website, will you? I would love to have you on as a guest to talk about this. If you go over to my website, which is gavinfish.com, it's always linked down below, and you click on this little envelope, you can reach out to me. I see all of them. I know that sometimes when there's a form online, you wish that you could just email. This is just the system that I have. I find it's the best way for me to be in touch. But just fill that out. I see everything. I read everything. I don't respond to most things because there's so much that comes in. But if you are an expert on the missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls movement, I don't even know if I'm calling it the right thing. But please put yourself in touch with me. The other thing that you could do is you could head on over to the Fish Tank. I'll show you guys that later on Facebook. For now, let's just focus on Emily here for a second, okay? Let me make sure everything is okay. We've got, actually, holy cow, we've already got a super chat. Let's bring this up real quick. And TJ, the girl with the big dog, says, and thank you for the super chat, says, thank you for raising awareness. It's truly disgusting how much the crimes against Indigenous victims are ignored. Thank you for your honesty and hard work. Well, thank you. I think that a lot of us, myself included, if we don't connect with a person when we're talking about victims who are already passed, there's no connecting with them in life. So we really are looking at the cover of the book, right? And if there's not that immediate connection, it's really easy if they don't look like us or if they have different beliefs than us. It's really easy to just go, oh, well, I'll move on to another one that maybe speaks to me a little bit more. So I want to repent of that thinking and be helpful here. Okay, so this is what I've done. And thank you for that super chat. Thanks for taking care of me. All right, so I have prepared a quick presentation for us to get to know the case kind of off the bat, okay? And I've done my best to be as accurate as possible. There could be some mistakes in here, guys, but once we go through this, then my plan is to go through some of the documents, which is really kind of what we do here on this channel, right? We go through some of the documents. So we're going to definitely do that. Okay, so Emily Pike was a She's a little girl. She's 4 foot 10 inches tall, 115 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. And I don't know, her smile to me is about the sweetest, and it makes me think about Madeline Soto, because Madeline Soto was able to smile, and we now know what was going on in the background. Now, I don't know or even think that that sort of thing was happening to Emily, but she was troubled. There were issues that she was facing, things that she could not by herself face or cope with, and she needed help to do those things. So, let's a little bit more about her. She was born in May of 2010. So next month she would have turned 15 years old. Like I said, she's part of that San Carlos Apache tribe. She's described by people who knew her as artistic, as a joyful girl, though that we know that she did attempt some kind of self-harm at one point. When she was not in the throes of that, she was described as joyful. She was full of potential, as all young kids are. There's so much potential in them. And by the way, potential doesn't mean that they're going to go on to do some crazy, cure cancer or bring back the dinosaur, or, the most important things that happen in this world are done by average, everyday people doing ordinary things extraordinarily. And that's what I mean by she was full of potential. She was going to do extraordinary things by just being her. She loved music. She loved K-pop, Roblox. She loved cats. Oh my goodness, it's like I'm describing my youngest daughter. But she was placed in a group home called Sacred Journey in Mesa, Arizona, by Tribal Social Services. Obviously, she was a juvenile. Most of those details we're never going to know. Why it was that she found herself placed there, what was going on in the home in which she was living or being raised in, who knows? But there were some issues, and she was placed in this group home. And it was in late 2023 that we start to see some concerns in Emily's life. And I didn't put her picture in all these, but let me just bring up her picture so we can see her. Let me bring up another one we haven't. There we go. Look at that little smile. So in September of 2023, she was hospitalized because she tried to do harm to herself. It was that month that she and another girl that were at Sacred Journey ran away. They said that they were getting some kind of punishment, like they were being forced to clean the floors and scrub the grout, like it was some sort of, not corporal punishment, but maybe some retaliatory punishment, or maybe some kind of corrective punishment. I don't want to cast aspersions on Sacred Journey when I really don't know what was going on there, but at least in the minds of this 14-year-old girl and another girl, they felt like life was unfair. And it very well could have been. Okay? All right. One of the girls said, I'd rather go to jail than go back to Sacred Journey. By the way, when I looked up Sacred Journey, their website is offline. There's no connecting with Sacred Journey right now. Okay, then on September 20th, Emily ran away again. On October 31st, she ran away again. She told people that Sacred Journey was an unsafe environment. And I think that the relationship with Sacred Journey, and I'll get into this a little bit more, but it wasn't just Native and Indigenous children that were at Sacred Journey, though they did have a contract with at least the Apache tribe, the San Carlos Apache tribe, so there were Indigenous girls there besides Emily. Okay. On January 27th of this year, So we're just talking, 2.5 months ago. Emily ran away again. She pushed open the screen from inside. She got out of her bedroom window and she left Sacred Journey. She was seen near Mesa Drive and McKellips Drive in Mesa at 7:45 p.m. Now I want to bring up some maps here and let's look that one up. Mesa Drive and McKellips Road. Okay, so give me just a second to... There we are. Okay, so let's bring you over to maps. Where are my maps? Here we go. So it was in this general area. Now, I do not know. I mean, I think the group home would have been here close by somewhere, but I don't know where, because the addresses that I've seen online simply are for like a corporate headquarters or those types of things, and they're in industrial parks or commercial parks. Mesa, Arizona is part of, there are a whole bunch of like cities next to each other in the greater Phoenix area. So we're on the east side of Phoenix, Arizona. For those of you who are outside of the United States, Arizona is in the southwest of the United States, right? So the Mesa area, to drive to, I've made that drive down to like Tombstone, which is right on the border with Mexico. It's a couple hours, maybe 3 hours away. So it's right there in the southwest, and that is where she was last seen, at the corner of Mesa Drive and McKellips Road, East McKellips Road, right around in that area. Okay. Coming back to Keynote. She was officially reported missing at 8:19 p.m., so it feels like to me like it was pretty quickly that they recognized that she was gone. The group home manager had said that she had done it before, and the roommate said that Emily planned to meet a boy from a guitar class. Okay, so the initial investigation on January 28th and 29th, there was a tip that she may be at the Rock Teen Center. I can look that up here real quick too. Let's actually look to see. Let's do directions. Rock Teen Center in Mesa. Coming back over to maps. So it's like 3 miles away, 3.5 miles away from where she was last seen. So there was a tip that she was there. Of course, they looked, they didn't find her. There was a tip that came in saying she was on tribal land with her mother. On February 6th, an anonymous Facebook post made the same claim. Hey, she's not missing. She's with her family on tribal land. And then, but it wasn't until February 7th that the staff there at Sacred Journey checked their voicemail. On the 11th, the police review those tips and confirm that that is false. She is not on tribal land. Where am I going? Back over here. Okay. On February 14th, and guys, I'm very sorry. This is going to be kind of gruesome, but this is very gruesome. Emily's remains were found on February 14th, right on St. Valentine's Day. They were inside trash bags. They were found near Globe, Arizona, about 100 miles away from Mesa. And I'm going to go to a map here for you to see where it is. But the bags contained her torso, her legs, and her head, all dismembered. It noted that her face and head had trauma. She had no ID on her. There was no clothing found with her. What police believed was that the crime scene where she was murdered was somewhere else and that her body was taken to this location. Now let's go back over. The way it was described was on U.S. Highway 60 near mile marker 277. That happens to be this spot right here. So it's like a turnoff of US Highway 60, and it's out in the desert, in the high desert there outside of Mesa. If we look over here, this 7143 East Southern Avenue is the corporate headquarters for Sacred Journey. It's definitely not where she went missing, but it's about an hour and a half northeast up into, actually very close to Apache lands. It might even be in Apache lands. I thought that I saw, so Fort Apache Reservation is right off of Fort Apache Reservation. You can see this border right here. Hopefully you can see it. And this highway drives up into that reservation, the sovereign nation of the Apache there. So, I mean, that's quite a distance. I think that obviously tells us that somebody traveled by car, which would tell me that there are adults involved here. At least I would imagine there were adults involved here. But yeah, an hour and a half away, about 85 to 100 miles outside of Mesa. Okay? No ID, no clothing, no arms. It was just a gruesome sight. This is a 14-year-old girl, by the way. We have to remember that, right? This was a 14-year-old girl, man. 14. And, I mean, if we're going to learn anything here, and I know that she was troubled, and she had a very difficult beginning to her life in comparison to like me. I'm constantly just amazed at the family lottery that I won. Just the loving, caring, middle class, awesome family, awesome parents that I was given just by virtue of being born. She had a much harder time. But even those 14-year-old little girls that are not troubled are still really hard. That's a tough age. It's a really tough age, man. So, okay, let's talk a little bit about what Sacred Journey is or was. It is an Arizona licensed provider of residential group homes. So that would mean that instead of having like some big facility for the teens and children in their care, they would have little homes in residential neighborhoods where they would live more. The idea is for them to live more like a family, a much more normal kind of life rather than being in some kind of facility. Okay? They are contracted by the Arizona Department of Child Services and also the Tribal Social Services. It serves both indigenous and non-indigenous children. It claims to provide therapeutic care. They describe it as trauma-informed therapeutic care. I honestly don't know what that means other than maybe they have psychological programs or psychiatric programs for those that have experienced deep, painful trauma in their lives. And Emily's placement was court-ordered by the San Carlos Apache Social Services. And each home typically houses about 10 children. Now, when Emily went missing and then her body was later found, a little over 2 weeks later, there was a lot of scrutiny about Sacred Journey, and they found that in the previous 3 years, there had been 30 plus missing persons calls to the Mesa Police Department. Now, this doesn't mean 30 children, because we know that Emily ran away at least 4 times. So, but 30 calls for missing children leaving the residence. There is another girl, a 17-year-old teenager, who went missing from the same home back in 2024, who has never been seen, never been found. Also under scrutiny is tips came in that they didn't even check until 5 days later, right? And so on February 28th, DCS opened a licensing inquiry. I'm not sure where that stands. The San Carlos Apache tribe called for investigation and reform. I've got a document on that we might grab another time. Today's document's going to focus on the missing persons case. Here's what Sacred Journey's CEO said. Her name is Rebecca Padilla. She said to AZ Central, "My heart hurts so much. We loved Emily. I was heartbroken to hear what happened." I don't know how to take that. If it's like, for those like musical theater nerds, is this a Miss Hannigan kind of a thing? Is it that Emily and the other girls in that home were kind of like hard knock life in it, like in Annie, and we've got Miss Hannigan saying, "Oh, we loved her so much, my heart is broken"? Or is she sincerely somebody who cares and really did love Emily? I don't know. She said she's haunted by Emily's death. She stated that Sacred Journey does everything required by law during runaway events. And I hate that. I just hate it when people say as an excuse, we do everything required by law. Okay, the reason I hate it, and while I'm hating on it, let me just bring this picture of Emily back up again. I hate it because what is required by law is the bare minimum. That is the bare minimum. Like when I investigate allegations of abuse in a jail, for example, and the warden will tell me, "Oh no, we do everything required by law." Well, yeah, you should do everything required by law. That is the bare minimum. But that's what she said. She says most children placed there have experienced significant trauma in their lives. Claims that they are a last resort placement and faced staffing challenges. That's probably true. And acknowledged we want to make things better. We want the state to help us do that. Oh, that is another one that bothers me. Right? It's always, if I only had more money, I could do so much more. But that's hardly ever the case. But that's what it sounds like she's saying. I want to make things better. I wish the state would help me do that. I don't like that at all. Okay, so in the aftermath of the discovery of little Emily's remains, they identified them positively as Emily Pike on the 27th of February, just of this year, just 6 weeks ago. They launched that inquiry into Sacred Journey on March 8th. This is the Gila County Sheriff's Office asked the public for ring video and surveillance video. I would imagine that they are also part of the network where they can grab video off of traffic cams and off of businesses that participate. On March 15th, a candlelight vigil was held in her honor. There's actually a beautiful, I don't know that I prepared it. There's a beautiful, I prepared it. I just didn't put it in my system. Let me pull this up. There's a beautiful mural that was created that I want to show you guys. Yeah, let's open it with there we go. So let's go over to this button. This is a beautiful mural that was painted of Emily Pike. You can see down here, these are all handprints, which is like a, I don't want to minimize what it is. It's a meaningful symbol. I almost said logo, but it's more than that. It's a symbol. The red painted hand. But yeah, they've had candlelight vigils. They've made this amazing mural. On March 18th, a multi-agency task force was formed. So the agencies involved in this are I don't know if they pronounce it Gila or Gila. I don't know. Gila is how I would say it, but the Gila County Sheriff's Office is taking the lead on this. The Mesa PD, the San Carlos Apache Police, the Federal Bureau of Indian Affairs, the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And you know, it just reminded me. My late uncle, who is my dad's oldest brother, who I always thought was the coolest uncle ever, was an FBI agent. For most of his career, he was based in the Mesa, Arizona field office. And most of his career, he worked on the reservations, doing federal murder investigations and so forth. So, yeah, this is one of those cases that something like he would have investigated. And I'm sure that there are talented and capable agents of both the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the Federal Bureau of Investigation helping on this. The San Carlos Apache tribe offered a $75,000 reward for information leading to an arrest or conviction of Emily's killer. The Apache tribe passed a resolution requesting a stronger group home oversight, an attorney general's investigation into Sacred Journey, passage of a bill, and we'll go over this in a future video called House Bill 2281. And basically, they want an indigenous alert system, kind of like a Amber Alert, but for indigenous victims. And the tribe has said this crime must not go unsolved. HB 21, again, would establish a missing indigenous person alert system. It would activate immediately when a native person is believed to be in danger. It's sponsored by Representatives Martinez, Garcia, Peshlaki, and Tsosi, and is supported by tribal nations and indigenous justice advocates. I feel like they probably have enough momentum here that they might be able to get it past the House, and maybe they'll be able to get it past the Senate. And I believe this is a state law, not a federal law. Like I told you before, Veronica Cruz is a young woman, a teenage girl that is missing. She disappeared in May of last year, also from Sacred Journey. Last seen in Mesa on May 18th at 4:55 p.m. The bulletin says she may be in Casa Grande or Eloy. Her case remains open and unsolved as well. So I was trying to think, what is Emily's legacy? Well, it remains to be seen, but it does seem like we've got some momentum here. And it is a tragedy that it requires something like this to happen for there to be action, right? First off, Emily's story, it highlights problems with the system when it comes to caring for children, especially those who have experienced deep and lasting trauma. I think that it does also point out that there is a group of underserved victims, under-recognized or under-noticed victims in the American Indian and Alaska Native communities. This is part of what is called the MMIWG crisis, that is the Murdered and Missing Indigenous Women and Girls crisis. Her case certainly spotlights a lack of close oversight in the group home system. I don't know that I would advocate for not necessarily advocate for government for a government program, but certainly some kind of oversight that holds these group homes accountable. And hopefully, I mean, I've seen her case highlighted in national media, certainly all over the state of Arizona. And that is a breath of fresh air. But we hope that her killer will be brought to justice. I did see, as I was researching the case, there are some that believe that this senseless murder bears the hallmark of a serial killer. I don't know if that is true or not, but I hope that law enforcement, investigators, and prosecutors will take this seriously, that they will find whoever did this to her. I am hoping that there are pieces of evidence on little Emily's torn apart and not disgraced. She is not disgraced, but disrespected remains. It is a disgrace what they did, but she is not disgraced. She is disrespected and unloved. That's what she is. By her assailant or assailants. What should we be doing here? Well, we should be supporting legislation like HB 2281. If you live in a state in the United States that has an indigenous population, like mine, we live on Seneca land. Seneca, historical land. And we have lots of reservations around us. We should be supporting legislation like House Bill 2281. Anything that would bring a brighter, shinier, more intense spotlight onto cases like Emily's, we should be supporting. We should be demanding transparency in the state group home, these kind of last chance areas, that kind of licensing and oversight. And if we have any tips, guys, we got to call the Gila County Sheriff's Office. And I'm so sorry if it's supposed to be Gila, because I keep thinking Gila Monster. But all you have to do is Google them. And in fact, let me just bring it up here real quick. Gila County Sheriff's Office. All right, let's bring this up right here. And let's see how we contact. Okay. Oh, they've got a whole bunch of contacts here, right? But let's see. Is there a patrol, jail, visitor services? I honestly just think that... Hold on. I've got another document that I should be able to come to real quick, and we'll get it. Of course, they don't put their contact number on there. Okay, let's just choose a contact number. Probably the sheriff's office at 928-402-4373. That is where you want to call. 928-402-4373. And let's get those tips going. If you're in Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, the Southwest there, anywhere where word might travel as to what happened. If you know something, give an anonymous tip, man. Give an anonymous tip. I want to come back over to the maps here, okay? Let me bring up the map view. Right, so this is where we're talking about. The perpetrators could have gone to Nevada, California, Utah, Colorado, New Mexico. They could have made it into West Texas or even northern Mexico. So if you're in those areas and you've got your ear to the ground on that, please, please, please send any tips to the Gila County Sheriff's Office. Let me bring it back. I think that might be the end. Yeah. Okay. Before I go on to the documents, let's see what you guys are saying here. Okay. I probably am missing a bunch of your comments because it just refreshed. Let's see. Emily says, let's bring up Emily Pike. So Emily up in Canada says it's a high rate here in Canada too. In Canada, Indigenous women are 4 times more likely to be victims of violence than non-Indigenous women. Yeah, and I was looking at National Institute of Health statistics and, trying to figure out why that is. It's not univariate. There's going to be many, many reasons why. But it is like Mooney said, it is a huge societal program. The rate of, Emily continues, murdered Indigenous women is 4.82 per 100,000. It's just sad. Handovike says, sadly, in lots of regards, if you are inclined to R or M, you find a group that society authorities care least about if you want to not get caught. Truly awful. You are speaking the truth there, Ike. Now, when I was investigating the Amanda Winkowski case, I talked with a chief of police, and he was like, so are you familiar with the idea of a high-risk victim? I had never, obviously it speaks for itself, but I had never thought about that before. There are certain groups of people, either through the things that they do or their heritage or their identity, are high risk, and they're not cared about as much. I was thinking about Samuel Little, right? The most prolific serial killer in American history. He focused on sex workers because who cares? I do, but you know what I mean? Like, people they just didn't care. Plus, he was so criminally brilliant that he would drop them across different different state lines and so forth. So, and it kind of feels like that's what's happening here. She was dumped in a way different jurisdiction than the one that she was taken from, or she was last seen in. Let's see. Indigenous people live in vast areas but lack transportation, so they have to hitchhike to get to where they need to go. That might be one of the reasons. Emily says, I know more about the Canadian story and the sad history of residential schools. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I learned about that pretty recently, maybe 8 or 9 months ago. I could not believe it. There was a documentary series that I watched. I went down the rabbit hole. I could not believe it. And again, it's this, it's groups of people that society thinks are discardable for whatever reason that happens to. My wife is reading, or she just finished reading a novel that is based on a real life place that was, it wasn't specifically a residential school, but it was like a juvenile detention facility, group home kind of thing down in the South in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, and how many boys just became desaparecidos from there. That's they just went missing and were never found again. It's because in the South in the 60s, most of the victims were black. They didn't care about them. It just, ooh. All right. Okay. Actually, M. Kessler, I watched one of Chris's videos on this today. So you're saying Chris McDonough of the Interview Room is covering this case, and Chris is actually training the Native American police departments on high rate of crime against Native American women. Maybe I ought to reach out to Chris. That would be a fun collaboration. I've never spoken to him, but that would be awesome. Yeah, Autumn Doyle. Autumn says over the last 3 years, 30 missing children reports. I don't know how many children, but yeah. Terry T says, I see part of the problem is Indigenous people are sovereign and the tribal police do the investigations. This typically doesn't allow for information to get out to the public. I do think that the tribal police departments, though, are part of the NCIC system. I mean, I take your point and I agree with it. That, small departments on sovereign land may not share information as easily, especially with the 250 years of experience that those tribes have with the United States of America. I think that trust is lacking for sure. In fact, I just wrote the first 2 parts. I think the first one published today on Explore Clarion, which is a company that I work for, my day job, on the damming of the Allegheny River at Kinzua, which basically put an entire Seneca tribal land reservation underwater. And there had been a treaty signed by George Washington that their lands would be theirs forever. And those are the kinds of things that our nation has done. Jess says, Gavin, I appreciate you offering your platform to amplify the voices of advocates that are often not heard or even more often ignored. Hope we have more guests to discuss the unique issues. Yeah. I think I do need to find a guest to talk about this for sure. Yeah, Patty, it's heartbreaking for sure and gruesome. You're right. Yeah, you're right. Francis, glad I'm covering the case. Thank you, Francis. Glad you made it. One Man's Trash, you are so blessed to have a family like that. I can't even imagine winning that lottery, but I tried to create that for my kids, which is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Okay, not going to get to everybody. Sorry, guys, but let me move on to, let's come over with me to Acrobat, shall we? So there's some information that we can glean in this document. This is the Mesa Police Report. This is the missing police. This doesn't have to do with the murder. But there are a couple things that I found in here. So the reporting party was Kathy Montano from the group home. Why am I blanking on the group home's name right now? I'm totally blanking. Give me a second. Sacred Journey. There we go. Older woman. Okay, our missing juvenile. This is indeed Emily. 4'10", 115 pounds. Brown hair, brown eyes. She ran away from the group home. I don't know why it said no to juvenile and no fingerprints. I mean, I know why it said no fingerprints, but no to juvenile, I don't get that. Missing since January 27th. Has she been missing before? It says no, but she had. She had run away 3 times before. Marks available, no. They didn't have a description of the clothing that she was wearing either. Okay, so It should be noted during this investigation, I was wearing an on-officer body camera. Who wrote this? This is Officer Kapke. And the following is a summary of statements and observations made during the investigation and not direct quotes unless noted. Any breaks or lapse of video is due to either speaking with on-scene officers or an unintentional delayed start of the video. Digital file was downloaded and stored at evidence.com for further information details. Okay. Sworn Mesa PD officer, full uniform. 127 at approximately 8:19 p.m. He responded to the home for a missing person call for service. Call comments indicated a juvenile AWOL approximately 30 minutes prior. I spoke with the reporting party, identified as Kathy Montano, with her MVD photo. Kathy is the manager of the group home at the dispatch location. She indicated one of the clients, Emily, left out of her bedroom window and has not returned. The window screen was pushed out from the inside. Kathy states that Emily has ran away several times in the past. Kathy did not indicate any exigent circumstances. We've talked about exigency recently. So that might mean that there's no indication that she was taken or lured or anything. I don't know. Emily was described as a 14-year-old native female, approximately 4'10", 115 pounds with medium-length brown hair. She does not have a cell phone. She was last seen wearing a pink and gray shirt. Kathy indicated last time Emily ran away, she was located near Fitch Park. My area check was negative at Fitch Park, so he went looking for her. Kathy provided a picture of Emily that was attached to the call for service and submitted to records. Contacted Mesa Police Records and spoke with records specialists who assisted with entering Emily into the ACIC NCIC as a missing person. So this one is the Arizona database, and then NCIC is the national database. Contacted Sergeant Hutchinson and updated him with the details of the case. That ended my involvement in the case. Here's a supplement, and this is from Officer Durham. February 19th, so this is 5 days after her body was found. Please note this is a supplemental narrative. I am not the case agent. My involvement is minimal, and I have no knowledge of the final outcome of this case. On February 19th at approximately 8:02 p.m., I responded to a call for service, reference, and agency follow-up. Call comments stated the reporting party was with the Bureau of Indian Affairs. Additional call comments stated the reporting party had a Jane Doe he believed to be a missing Mesa juvenile. The missing juvenile was said to possibly be Emily. I'm sure that says Emily Pike. Upon arrival, I contacted Agent Summers from the Bureau of Indian Affairs Homicide Unit. Agent Summers advised redacted, a female believed to be Emily Pike. I bet that says remains of a probably non-Hispanic juvenile, believed to be Emily Pike, were located within the Gila County Indian Reservation. Oh, it was on the reservation. Agent Summers stated, and then redacted, the missing juvenile flyer distributed by the Mesa Police Department. Agent Summers asked me for contact information to the Mesa Police Homicide Unit as to share information and aid in the investigation led by Gila County. I immediately notified Sergeant Bailey of the above mentioned via cellular phone and provided him with Agent Summers' contact information. I ended the phone call and advised Agent Summers with Mesa PD Homicide Unit, or that the Mesa PD Homicide Unit would be contacting him. Agent Summers stated he understood, and I cleared, so he's off the case. Here's one from March 12th. On January 28th, 2025, I received this case for further investigation for review for missing 14-year-old female Emily Pike. At 10:02 hours, I contacted Lisa at I'm sure that was the home, right? She advised me that Emily was still missing, and it was unknown where she could be. I asked Lisa about any medical conditions or concerns for Emily, and she stated Emily was on medication for mental health and behavioral issues. She also provided me with the contact information for, I don't know what word is redacted there, but San Carlos Apache Tribe case manager Lori Good. I then contacted Lori, and she confirmed that Emily had a history of behavioral and mental health concerns. She did not know of any possible locations for Emily at the time. Let me bring this up. All right. On January 29th, I received a voicemail from Lisa that she responded to the Rock Teen Center in Mesa, where Emily had gone in the past. That is the Alice Cooper Rock Teen Center. And they had not seen or heard from Emily since she left the group home. At 1500 hours, I reached out to Lisa, and she said Emily was still missing. There was no new information on her whereabouts. At 3:35, I sent a missing person bulletin for Emily to law enforcement statewide and requested a hospital alert to all local hospitals via the Mesa Police Department's Communications Center. On February 11th at 10:53 a.m., I contacted Lisa for any new information regarding Emily. It's actually, I guess it's encouraging that we've got an investigation here. It's going 10, 12 days at a time, but anyway. She told me that the group home received a voicemail on February 7th from an unknown person stating Emily was with her mother on the San Carlos reservation, according to a Facebook post. Lisa did not have Emily's mother's information. At 10:58 a.m., I called Lori and requested information on Emily's mother regarding the anonymous tip. Lori advised me that she had recently been to Emily's mother's residence and questioned her about the tip. Lori said when she spoke to Emily's mother, Stephanie Docella, Stephanie told her that Emily was not at her residence and the Facebook post was an old post. According to Lori, Stephanie said she had not heard from Emily and appeared to be worried about her. Lori stated that she could go back to Stephanie's residence with San Carlos Apache Tribal Police to verify Emily was not there. Lori also emailed me the San Carlos Apache Police Department report and the other for authorization and consent filed with San Carlos Apache Children's Court. On February 20th at 7:22 a.m., I called Lori and left a voicemail for her to call regarding any new information regarding Emily's whereabouts. At 11:20, I reached out to Lisa at the group home, who told me that the tip she originally said came in on February 7th was actually sent to the group home on February 2nd, 10:19 a.m. by an unknown female. On the 27th, I was contacted by Mesa PD Homicide Detective Ingram, who informed me that Emily was positively identified by Gila County Sheriff's Office as a homicide victim in their jurisdiction. Detective Ingram advised me to have Emily removed from the missing person database as he was continuing to assist the county with their investigation. At 4:55, I canceled the missing person bulletin. Emily was cleared from NCIC/ACIC as a missing person. Missing persons case is closed, and the investigation for her homicide is ongoing at this time. Let's see. I think there was... Yeah, this was the affidavit. So, and there's the picture that they used for her. I think that's one of the pictures I have, isn't it? Is it? Let me see. No, it's not. It's not one of the pictures I have. But that is pretty much the extent of documentation that we have on this case. I'd really love to talk to somebody about the case to see what it is that we as a community can do to help. Let me go back over to your comments real quick. I'm going to miss a lot of them. Sorry about that, guys. Super Charismatic, the history of Kinzu Dam is really sad for a lot of reasons. Beautiful area, though. Indeed. Indeed. It is pronounced Gila. Thank you very much. Marginally disgruntled. No, marginally gruntled. I love that. One big reason for numbers sad is lots of perps, misspelled for YouTube, pick people whose society might not care as much unless somebody makes a fuss. Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty darn sad. Jenny says, thank you for covering this. Is there anything we as non-Arizona residents that we can do to help move forward something like a national alert system? That is man, my hair has gotten so long, guys. It's terrible. What a great question. Yeah, I mean, do you have a relationship with your representative in Congress? That is the best place to start. It really is. And if you don't have a relationship with your representative in Congress, you should work to have one. They want these kinds of relationships, guys. They are they're just our representatives in Congress, normal everyday people, that got elected. So yeah, you should reach out to your congressman or congresswoman and tell them what you think. Look for organizations that are sponsoring something already. My guess is there probably is a bill that has come before Congress 1,500 times before and never gotten past committee. Look for those. Look for those and see if you can light a fire underneath those. Great comment. Jessica says Mesa said they didn't use Amber Alert because she'd have been qualified disqualified because she ran away so many times. Ooh. Gavin, the red dress symbolizes the pain and loss felt by their families and their need for justice and awareness. Thanks, Rebecca. Let's bring that up again. Where'd I have that? Right here. You know what's really interesting? I'm just going to point this out. When we talk about Madeline Soto, we'll get 1,000, 1,200, 1,500, 1,800 people live while we're talking about this. When we're talking about Emily Pike, we get 200 or 300. And I think that's emblematic of something, man. It's sad. Yeah, look at that. All right, couple more things. Emily says, in some indigenous cultures, the hands hold symbolic and spiritual significance. The red hand can represent the connection between the physical and spiritual worlds, invoking the help of ancestors. Jess C says, ironic that she's a CEO talking about if I had more money, what on earth was she doing with the money you did have? If kids would rather be in jail than be there. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, you guys are full of awesome comments. I think we're going to leave it there, though. I think we're going to call it. But I would like to stay on this case. This case needs to be reported. And so, please share this case. Let's get more eyeballs on this. And I will do my best to reach out to bring on somebody who would be a good guest to talk about missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, and hopefully have a nice conversation, about what it is that we might be able to do. Remember, if you are such an expert, I would love to talk to you. Just go over to my website, click on this little icon right here. That will get you to the contact form. If you click on this little fishy, that will take you to the fish tank where we discuss things like this. If you're on Facebook, please join us over there. And I'm not gonna do any more shameless plugging, guys. I feel like I feel pretty somber tonight. This is a sad, sad case, and one that needs way, way more attention. And I am hopeful that the Gila County Sheriff's Office, the Bureau of Indian Affairs, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Mesa PD, everybody who's working on this, man, I hope they have some sort of evidence that they can unearth that will find who did this. People's Ring cameras, security cameras from businesses, anonymous tips. I hope that they are able to bring the the perpetrator or perpetrators to justice. Look at us. We're at 115,699 in our community. That's pretty amazing. I love it. Guys, that's it for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow night, 7:30 p.m. Eastern, right here on my channel here on YouTube. You can follow me everywhere: Instagram, X, Reddit, Facebook, all the places. I'm in all the places. Please follow me wherever you hang out on social media. And with that, I bid you adieu until tomorrow. Thanks for being here, and take care. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.